I bet you it'll populate, but no pictures yet.
To bring up to you today the 10th President and the CEO of Tuskegee University, Dr. Mark A. Brown.
All right. Thank you all so much, and thank you for getting up this morning. Let's see, we got a Tuskegee audience? I like to sense it out. You know, I can tell if I'm at home with Tuskegee folks or not. I just throw out a couple of things, see if anybody even know what I'm talking about, right? So if I say, glad to see you again, I haven't seen you since I don't know when. All right, well, some of y'all have been down there, right, in recent. That's right, some of you. And if I say TU, you know. All right, see? Where's my new TU student that I just met? Where is she, huh? Come up here for a second. Now, I'm just tell you something, because I get asked this all the time. Right? They always say, oh, why at this stage in your life do you go back to Tuskegee, right? Why aren't you on the porch somewhere, just, having a good time, drinking Coke? And if you want to know why, this is the reason why. As I meet students like this, she just came up to me. How old are you? A whole 18, 17? How are you? 18. A whole 18 years old, right? She's a whole 18 years old. She articulated what she was going to do in international affairs, what she had done at Tuskegee this summer, why she wanted to study where George Washington Carver studied, and how she was going to get that in undergrad and take it to George. She articulated more than I could when I was 50 years old. And so if you're wondering, should you be discouraged, don't be discouraged. We're going to be all right, right? Because we got folks like this. So welcome to Tuskegee, and thank you for choosing Tuskegee. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't wait to get her. And there are folks like that come from all over the world to go to your school. So sometimes I was telling somebody last night, I'm going to tell you the good and the bad as I go through this briefing. But I want to make sure that you water the plants and not the weeds when you talk about Tuskegee, right? I want to make sure you know that there's more to be happy about than there is to be concerned. There's more hope, right, than there is fear. We're doing all right. We're doing all right. The other thing I will tell you before we get in here is there's power in a name, and I heard a little bit of it when I was starting earlier. There's power in the name Tuskegee. And don't let anybody talk you off the cliff about this. There's more power than you know. Let me tell you about the power of a name. So there was a census just toward the end of the Civil War. It wasn't quite there yet. The Union Army hadn't won. The Confederacy was still fighting back. But Abraham Lincoln wanted to have a census because he wanted to figure out, when he united these states, what he was going to end up with. So he goes down and sends his folks to a place in Virginia, a county in Virginia, to take a census. And they're counting everything like they did in the census of the day. And this is in the archives. So it's not me saying this. So they go into this home. It's the Burroughs family in Virginia. And they come to take account and to provide a monetary value for everything there. So they found a bushel of potatoes, and they said, 5 bushel of potatoes found. Slave owner was James and Elizabeth Burroughs. They didn't have the big slave plantations because they were toward the end of the Civil War, so they had gotten beaten up a little bit, right? There were 14 family members in the big house, 7 slaves in the little house. The slave mother was named Jane. She had 6 children. They valued her on the census as $250, having already born children. This is the truth. It's the harsh truth of where we come from. They named the other person there one Negro boy. That's what it says on the chart. It says one Negro boy, valued as a mulatto, like every other child that was in that thing. They were born of the slave master and the slave woman. They called him one mulatto boy, and then one Negro boy who appears to be mulatto. They valued him at $400. They didn't give him a name. Let me tell you what his name really was. Later on, he gave himself a name. It was Booker. And then, when he found out that the big people have 3 names, he gave himself a middle name and took his stepfather's last name. Booker Taliaferro Washington, who they started off calling what? One Negro boy. The value and the power of a name. Live up to who you believe you are and not what somebody calls you. We are Tuskegee. Huh? We are Tuskegee. And we ought to be proud of that. Don't let anybody ever talk you off the ledge. Be proud of who you are. All right, I want to take you through a series of how we're doing at Tuskegee, where we're going, where we vision, what we see it is, what we believe we can do. And I want to share with you inside the family here the challenges. Because I'm going to be as transparent as I can with you about the challenges. But I will tell you, as I get into the challenges, I spent last week, sometimes the weeks run together, but it was last week, if I remember right, at Harvard, going through the course that they have there. And there were 50 universities there, 50 new university presidents, all within the first 2 years. And if you believe that you are the only university with a challenge, don't believe that. Now, maybe some of them don't talk about them as much, but we all have challenges. And so this is a part, of running a university. It's nothing to hold your head down for, nothing to be overly concerned, but just something to engage with. So we have our challenges. Let's go to the slides. We'll talk about, not so fast, my brother. I hired AL because he was fast, but I don't want you to be that fast. Not that fast. So all of these things are what we're going to talk about, and I'll go through them quickly. Don't worry. You don't have to worry. You're not going to be here all night, but I'll go through them quickly. But I do want to talk about all of them. Before I get started, and I'm going to talk human capital here toward the end about who some of our new teammates are, and who I want you to know who they are so you know who to work with. And you don't, I get calls sometimes, and they say, I got a call. I won't name the person. They say, well, I'm not going to work with the university because, back in 1979, I was trying to give them some money. I couldn't give them any money, so I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. I said, well, the person that you was trying to work with in 1979, with all due respect, they rested in peace. Come back home. We still open, right? And we want to work with you. So you got to know who the new folks are. You got to know what we're trying to do. You got to know what our goal is. Now, of all the people I hired, I did bring with me a partner, a lifelong partner. And I don't pay her. But, she's been coming to work every day for about, pretty soon, 35 years. So that's my wife, Gwendolyn Jackson Brown. I want you all to make sure you know. Now, I say I don't pay her, but just you better believe she gets her work. All right, next chart. Next chart. All right, I always start with the finances because if you like to talk about money or if you don't, you must be financially solvent to be a university. Everything has to have a return on investment, everything, so that is a fact. And if we were not financially solvent, we would be in trouble. And so we have to look at that all the time. We have to look at it carefully, and we have to make decisions that have finances in mind. Next chart. We're doing well. We are doing well. Tuskegee is very solvent. We have ended every year for the last 3 years in a positive balance sheet, as audited by an external audit firm. So this isn't me getting together with the finance guys and making numbers work. No, we have to be audited by an external audit firm in order to be a 501c organization and all of those things. So it's not something that I just get to say. So these are their numbers. And they say we have a positive return each year. That's important if you want to borrow money. That's important if you want to stay accredited, because that's a form of accreditation, your financial solvency. We're solvent. Next chart, please. And we're managing our long-term debt. Just like if you go get a credit card, right? They want to know how much you earn, how much debt you already have, and they determine your ratio, right, based on some of that. That's a big factor. We have taken our long-term debt down over the years. We benefited from an action by the federal government several years ago where they wiped off some long-term debt, but we're still doing very good. We took on some debt in order to renovate Olivia Davison and Lewis Adams. We took it through the Title III HBCU Capital Financing Program, which is the best way to take on debt because the federal government has a rate that's lower than if you were to go out on the commercial market. That project ended well, ultimately, but it was late. But the dorms are very nice. And if you're on campus, I suggest if you used to live in Olivia Davison or if you used to live in Lewis Adams, you need to go back there because it's not the same place that you used to live in. And if you've got some kids that are going to stay in those dorms, they're the most popular dorms on campus. We need to do more that way because they are modernized. And now we're going to pay that debt off as quick as we can. All right? And it's just the start of what we need to do on renovation. It's just the start. Next chart. This is a big issue this year, right? Let me tell you, when I was at school, and I don't say that much because it's a different day, but there is something that's fundamentally different. We were an open campus. You can come and go as you please, at least when I was there. I never feared violence. I really did. I never feared violence. I don't know if people had guns or not. It was just not a subject when I was there. But it's different now. It is a subject. Alabama is an open carry state. You're allowed to carry a gun if you want to, right? And there are a lot of unemployment in the state of Alabama. There's a lot of unemployment of young men in Tuskegee, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, the towns that surround us. That normally breeds crime. And if it breeds crime, we're not isolated by that. And so we have a requirement, I believe, to provide due protection to everybody that's on the campus, students, the faculty, all of that. So we put a special focus on that, a very special focus. And it makes getting on the campus different, right? And I have heard from many of you all and across the country about, wait a minute, I came to the campus, they didn't just let me on, I couldn't. That's true, that's true. And I just want to be very frank with you, that's going to continue to be true. You will continue to need to have a pass to get on. We'll make it very easy to get. You'll be able to get it in advance. You know, you're not who we're trying to keep out. So we will work on the efficiency of that. But there are elements that we need to keep out. Specifically cars that we know nothing about, right? Cars that we need to be able to search. We need to be able to do that. And we need to figure out what it means to socialize on campus, right? To socialize on campus. Socializing on the campus and having parties are for students. You can have events as well. But they aren't for the state of Alabama and the surrounding counties. Now that's different. I'm just giving you, again, as transparent as I can. Not everybody likes that. So fraternities and sororities have events and they invite every other fraternity and sorority of their kind, right, from around. That has been happening for years. When I was there, that happened. It happened probably when you were there. Not so easy to do now. So if the good brothers of Phi Beta Sigma want to have I'm not sure what they call it, brother. Tell me what they call it. Something when everybody comes. So one of those events. Or the deltas, when all the deltas around come. There's like a million deltas, so a million, they come around, right? Or whoever it is. Well, that's really not for the other universities and friends, it's for the ones on the campus. That's a big difference in what it used to be. And we have to control it very much now, and it's not so easy to do. So there are cultural differences. Let's go to the next chart, if you will. Let's go. And so I've listened to all the students, I've gone around, we've talked about it, and we acted on what they asked us to do. I had a lot of talks with parents, alumni, everybody who had concerns about this. Next chart. This is our new police chief. He's been a police chief before. When we hire people, because I've had this come to, why don't you hire somebody? I'll tell you what I'm looking for. Credentials, certifications, professional acumen. In other words, don't come to Tuskegee to train on the job.
Amen.
Prove to me you've already done it. And then we are more likely to go that way. You got to. He's been a police chief, right? Police chief in a city. He's done the kind of things. That's why we hired him. And also, you got to have to be the police chief, you got to have a clean record yourself. You really do, right? You can't be locking people up for your own crimes, right? So you got to have a very crystal background. He does. He's energetic. You may find him to be a bit too energetic. But, you know, that's what police chiefs do. And he's hiring police chiefs that do the same. We moved to a 24/7 policing on Tuskegee's campus. So we have enough police officers who are certified. We moved away from security guards. What's the difference? So previously we had a series of security guards. It was a contract. Nice guys. They sat on the gate, right? They wore brown uniforms. They waved you in. Sometimes you had to wake them up, right? Nice people, though. But they was nice people. If you have ever met them, they were very nice people. But they wasn't stopping any crime, right? They were just kind of like ushers, right? Usher you in, kind of thing. So now they're going to have weapons. Please don't be intimidated by weapons. They have them because other people have weapons. So they have weapons. They have them with the purpose of checking things at the gates and doing all those kind of things. Next chart. And we've gone through all of this now. I got an update earlier this morning, and the gate fortification is done. The portable lighting is in and being removed for permanent lighting. The crisis alert system and weapons detection is done. We hired Honeywell. Honeywell Corporation is the biggest corporation that we could find that had the means to do this. They replaced every door, 60% of them so far, that's external to a building where students live. Every one of those doors, they fortified with a camera. That camera connects into the security thing. So if you leave that door open too long, suddenly in the security office, they see your door. Now, some of you who can remember when you were at Tuskegee, now, some of y'all came indoors you wasn't supposed to come in. In dorms, you probably wasn't supposed to be in. But either way, if you leave that door propped open, somebody's looking at you, just so you know. So if you got some children down there, tell them to close the doors. They can't prop the door open with the broom anymore and tell somebody else to come in, or we're going to know who came in. And we've had instances of this, where people said, no, it wasn't me. And then they said, look, that looks like you, right? So we're moving to high-level security. That's important for where our children live, right? Metal detectors. If you go in a building, you're going to go through either already up there metal detector, a public building, Chappie James, Logan Hall. You're either going to be wand or you'll see the permanent sections there. Like if it's Chappie James, you'll see the permanent sections where you walk through. And so we have to do that because it's an open carry state. We want to make sure that no weapons are brought into big facilities. Our bikes are already purchased, and we have a set of police who are going to training on them. And so you'll see people riding around on bikes next time you're there, all the time. The reason is because the process is called community policing. And it's not, we don't want to fortify the place like you're living in a prison. The point is that you know who the police officers are, you feel comfortable talking to them, they're a part of your community. And you can't do that if you're in a vehicle that has a covered window and no one can see you, and that looks intimidating. But if you're on a bike and you're riding around, the students know you and they will reach out to you, which is what we're trying to achieve. And we have a K-9 unit. I got some criticism about that. Why do we have police dogs? Actually, there's a very good reason to have them. And one of them is drugs, right? Now, no matter where you come from, I don't know what the rules are in Philadelphia. I hadn't caught up with it. But in some states, marijuana is legal. Is that right in Pennsylvania? I don't know. But it's not in Alabama. I'm just, and so certainly you can't have those drugs in Alabama. And so we make a point of telling our students that before they get there. But marijuana is a problem. And these dogs find it, as well as certain weapons and things. And so they're good for that. And when they do, if you have marijuana, then the dog stops and he looks at you. And as long as you don't move, all is well. But don't move, because they're trained to leave you there until their owner says it's okay for you to move. And so we're the owner of these two dogs now. We have two. Next chart. And I'll show them to you later on. Every gate looks like that. Every gate that you get into at the front of the campus. The only ones that's not like that, I believe, the vet school has a couple of gates that aren't like that yet. Every one of them are there. You show your ID if you have one, and it pops up. There's a guy in the shack who may or may not check you. It just depends. It's random, but he's there, and he's a guard. And so that's how I go. So when our great student here gets there, she'll have an ID card. She will get into her. She can get into the building that way. She'll get into her dorm room that way, her outside door, and she'll get into her actual door to her dorm. And she say James Hall? James Hall. She'll get into James Hall that way. And we will always know who came in and who went out on a recorded system. That's how Tuskegee works now. Next chart. And it's true now for all of these buildings, those little cameras that you see. It'll be the second phase of it will be the academic buildings. The first phase was the place where people live. Next chart. We have an alert system called RAVE. So if you already, if you go around most college campuses, you see the blue light out there. So we're getting rid of the blue light, and now it's an app on your phone. And so if you take my phone up right now, you can find an app that says RAVE. And on RAVE, if you push it, and let's say that you're in Foster, if you all remember Foster is down in the engineering building, and it's late at night, and you're studying, and you want to get someone to walk home with you, a cop. You push RAVE, and the police will show up. They're already out there patrolling, and they'll make sure you can get back over to Lewis Adams on the other side of the hall. So things like that. Things like that, and we will continue to train our students and our faculty on how to use all of this. But the point is, it's a new world. And we need to take extra options to be secure in this new world. And we plan to do that. Next chart. All right, and so that's what RAVE looks like on the side of your thing. You can also report, like there's a building open, there's a window out, there's somebody that's unusual here, a crowd has gathered, I'm concerned, what have you. You can report a tip. It'll also do a geocentric campus map that will tell us where you're at. Right, so I'm in distress, I'm here. Push it. Now you say, is that extreme? Is that too much for little Macon County? Not anymore. And then the question I always ask when we made the investment in RAVE is, okay, just ask yourself this. If I sent my child there, is this the standard that I would want? And then I think that answers it, right? I think that answers it when we look at it that way. Next chart, please. All right, I already talked about these things that you see walking in. And again, don't be offended by these. They're not meant to catch you, right? But if you are coming from an open carry state and you yourself carry a weapon, or your friends do, or whoever's coming to visit you, just let them know they won't be able to have them there. This was an issue at graduation. When we got ready for graduation, so many people come into Chappie James. We used this. Well, wait a minute, you've changed things a lot. We really didn't catch very many people with any weapons that I know about for graduation. But we did get a little marijuana. So, all right, so all those things count. And I told them, look, we still want you to enjoy graduation. Just don't bring your marijuana. Okay, next chart. All right, those are the bikes that you will see. The police are out on them. They're training on them right now. They'll be actually on them next month. Next chart. Here are our two friends. That's Brendan and Bowser. And really, do these dogs look intimidating? They don't look intimidating. So right now, he's got the day shift, and he's got the night shift. But just so we aren't charged with any discrimination, we're going to switch it around after a little bit and let him have the night shift and day shift. But Brendan and Bowser are on campus with their walkers all the time. They're part of what Tuskegee does now, and I think it'll be just fine. Let's talk about some academics. So that's kind of the kind of what's happening with safety and security. All right, let's go. So we believe in this model strongly, and I tell you all this because I want all of you to be recruiters. Someone said, what can you do for Tuskegee? There are a lot of things you can do, and I know we always talk about money and writing checks. I got that, and believe me, we're going to talk about that too. But you can also always do this. When you go to church and the students decide they want to go, what they're thinking about going to college, don't ever forget Tuskegee. Wear something that says Tuskegee sometimes when you're in your events. Talk about Tuskegee. Bring us great students. That's one thing you can always do. You're recruiters. You're recruiters. And don't bring this great students because we have a great history. We do. But that's not why today's student might choose Tuskegee. What we should want every one of them to do is be successful in this century at this time, in their world today. We want them to appreciate the history, understand it. I think that's a very important part of it. But can they be successful? And what is success for college education? We got to step back from all of our excitement sometimes and ask, what is success? And there's a fundamental thing that Booker T. Washington established, I think, amongst others, that we should never get away from. And he didn't want you to come to school, learn to be a school teacher, and then live a poor life, unable to take care of your family. He didn't. And that's why he said, once you learn how to be a teacher in the fall, in the summer, I'm going to teach you how to do what? Maybe be a brick mason or a tinsmith for his time. In other words, I'm going to make sure your skills and your education come together so that you can take care of yourself and your family. That's why we send people to school, so that they'll be better off economically and socially than they would have been otherwise. That's it. It is just that simple. Economic and social mobility. And so, what does the world require today? Today, now, we're not making many tinsmiths anymore. But what does the world require today? We put a specific effort on analyzing that and then making sure the academics that we are offering are ready to meet that challenge. So we listen to the Business Roundtable, right? We listen to what industry says. We listen very carefully so that what we put out there is what they need. And then we try to shape the student for that. We want to shape the student for that outcome. Social work master's degree, if you get a master's degree in social work, you're going to get a job. And you're going to have your choice. Now, I didn't know that. Look, I like to admit some things that I didn't know. And if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would say, why are we still doing these master's degrees in social work? Well, I was wrong. The reason we are is because the nation needs more of them than we can produce. And so we should be getting them because that's how you get a job, right? And a good job, a very good paying job. The same thing in substance abuse, computers. We weren't surprised by the graduates in this place. Cybersecurity, we can't graduate enough students in cybersecurity. Did you know that we have a cybersecurity center of excellence in conjunction with the Department of Defense? Do you know we have a young man named Dr. Fan Wu, who has gone all the way to Congress to testify as a national expert on cybersecurity. So if you got a little student somewhere that wants to be a technical expert and they think they got to go to MIT to get it, we have a guy that MIT would love to have, Dr. Fan Wu, teaching Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. That's a great field to go into. Not just that one. IBM, we're looking for data scientists. And this, you got to watch this term. You know, it's changed over the years. We used to say get a minor in computer science, and then we changed the term, so sometimes it throws you off. But the term is data science. And it is the programming that you see behind AI, for instance, at times. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will affect 70% of the jobs. But somebody's got to program into artificial intelligence. The data scientists are all over it. And if you ever get a chance and you're over at the Bremer School of Business and you can go in during the week and sit behind and watch these guys do this, they're not just talking theoretically. They're writing program. They're writing language. They're learning how to do it on the spot. Now, look at this statistic alone. At IBM, the demand rose in the last 10 years from 364,000 jobs to fill to 2.7 million. So if I get a student out of Bessemer, Alabama, and that student says, I want to be data scientist, and I have to, make sure we have some, let's say the student doesn't have means, financial aid, some work study, and I spend, collectively, the country spends $60,000, $70,000 over the course of 4 years to send that student. And that student has $20,000 in debt. They have a positive return on investment on that money in less than 2 years out of school. They got that degree. And they got social and economic mobility beyond what their family saw coming from there. It's a national investment to do that. It's a treasure, right? It makes a lot of sense to do that. If the student goes to school and is unemployed afterwards and can't find, that's not a good investment. That's why we look at this very hard. Next chart. And no matter where we look at it on any of these areas, I'm going to talk a lot about veterinary medicine here in a little bit, about the challenges we're having in veterinary medicine, and be very frank with you about the challenges we're having. But one of them, I will tell you this. If you look at the social and economic mobility of those who graduated from the School of Veterinary Medicine over many, many years, you will find that Tuskegee has contributed greatly to this nation by creating vets, veterinary medicine experts, greatly. And not only that, the nation needed them. And if you want to go a little bit further, they needed them from Tuskegee at a time when the only place to go, if you're a person of color and be a veterinarian, was Tuskegee. So I refuse to step back from the School of Veterinary Medicine, no matter what, right? I'm not stepping back from the School of Veterinary Medicine. We have done a lot for this country, and we're going to finish the job there too. Aviators, you know, we'll talk about aviation science program in a little bit more detail, but it's so exciting, right? And a lot of fans for aviation science, and there's a reason why. There's a reason why. And I hope, I'll go a little bit ahead of myself here, but I hope when you get there, and I told you all, you got to come at least once a year now. You got to come to Tuskegee at least once a year. And you go by Moulton Field, you get off exit 38. If you hit it just about the right time, you know, on the left, you all have been there. Come down from it, if you're coming down from Atlanta, right, come off. New pilot station sitting there. Get down about halfway down the hill, you see Moulton Field. You'll see these aircraft flying. They got a big old red TU on the tail. You ought to feel pretty proud when you see those aircraft with the big TU on the tail, flying off of Moulton Field. And most likely, it's a student in there, maybe flying solo, maybe with one other person, learning how to fly aircraft at the same place that the Tuskegee Airmen learned how to fly it. Now, that ought to make you feel good to say that we're continuing on. So I would tell you that the programs that we have are matched with the needs of the country. And the academics are hard. Now, I do want you to warn your students, because I warned them all of this. No easy ride. You got to come to study. Tuskegee's not that school. Because I've heard people say, you know, you can get confused. You can go up on the shed and be balling and parlaying and jumping up and down and find yourself back at home. Right? Yep, you can dance I told them you can dance all the way back home. And we're good at a lot of things. But the teachers in the classroom they don't compromise on grades. And I've gotten all kind of, well, you know, I need 0.5 more, and I have never changed one of those, and I never will. So I'm just telling you, it is supposed to be hard. It is supposed to be rigorous. You are supposed to have to study long hours. You are supposed to sacrifice. It's called school, right? And if you want what's on the other end, you're going to have to put in the seat time. We'll do everything we can. But if you fail 2 consecutive semesters and don't make satisfactory academic progress at Tuskegee, we're going to send you a letter. Send it to your mama and your father, and whoever it is that are the guardians as well. And we're going to ask you not to come back the next year. Now, I know that's not popular, but there's a reason for that. It's expensive to go to Tuskegee. You got to grow up and then come to school. You know, we don't have a babysitting service. If you want us to sit down there, let you have a good time, stay in the dorm, $19,000, $24,000 a year, and then don't make satisfactory academic progress, no, you got to go home. And then when you get home, you know, maybe get a real hard job or whatever. Maybe enroll so much, but then when you're ready, come back. And I've had classmates where this worked out beautifully. So I'm just telling you, that's the kind of school we are. Tell the students right up front, that's how the school we are. We don't compromise on that area. But one thing we know, and one thing we want to be proud of, when you do come across that stage, there is nothing else to do in terms of academics for an undergraduate degree. You have it, and we know you're ready to go do what you're going to do in the world. And we have gone through every one of these programs that the world says are in most demand, and we saw, are we offering them? With the exception of pharmaceutical science, we are offering them all. So, I'll send you to FAMU on pharmaceutical science and a couple of other schools. But with the exception, we have the programs that are required. And we may soon have that one, but we don't have it right now. All right, let's talk about the College of Veterinary Medicine. Next chart. So I want to make sure I get a couple of things clear here. Right? The College of Veterinary Medicine is accredited. Right? I wasn't able to answer all the emails I had this morning about this question. Now, I did not say that we weren't in some dire times here. We are, and I'll explain them. But if you're enrolled right now at the College of Veterinary Medicine, you're enrolled in an accredited school and will graduate from an accredited school. When we lose our accreditation, if we do, we have to change that. We're in an appeal process. Now, we're in the final stages of an appeal process for something that has frankly eroded over 10 years or so. But we haven't lost that last appeal yet. We're fighting it. And the accreditors aren't necessarily all wrong. I don't want to paint the accreditors and say there is this group and they real bad and they come to get Tuskegee. It's just not true. We got some problems. And they have every reason professionally to call us on them. Now we've got to fix them, and we got to show them that we're fixing them and that we're making progress, and we got to make them look at the data that's important. But it's a valid write-up, and I've spent a lot of time with it. I've read it over and over. I've talked with the experts. In many cases, they are right, and we should have moved out more aggressively many years ago on this. But we are where we are, and we're going to do something about it. But I also don't want to miscommunicate. I don't want to go out and say, oh no, Tuskegee has lost its accreditation. That's just not true. It's technically not true. And I'll tell you where we are on this in case you haven't. Some of it you may have heard. First of all, let me go back and chart again if you don't mind. All students admitted to date have been and will continue to be enrolled in an accredited veterinary medical program. The way this works, and I'll go through the stages, if Tuskegee lost its accreditation, then there would be no incoming class, right? Because that incoming class would have been enrolling in an unaccredited school. Everybody there would graduate from the accredited school that they signed up for. You follow me? So at the point where it got to the last stage, that new year one, we would have to change and probably not take that year one if we lost accreditation until we got it back. You with me? So if they're there now, they're going to an accredited school. Challenges, very real challenges. Next chart. The first thing we had to do, we've changed the school. We have a new dean, an interim dean. We're on a worldwide search for a dean. We have Dr. Charm. I don't know if you all have met Dr. Charm. He is aggressively involved in the vet school. Here is what is fundamental inside the family that we need to understand about the vet school over the years. The College of Veterinary Medicine has operated almost independently of the university. Raised their own money, hired their own folks, did their own programs, and in most cases was successful. The College of Veterinary Medicine, Tuskegee University, was seen as almost two different entities. Not a lot of interface. The dean, powerful deans over the years, they ran the College of Veterinary Medicine, right? Sometimes I think the university might got a little offended by that, right? There was tension. I'm just inside the family here. I think we need to understand there was tension. But you can't do that because of what? The infrastructure of the school belongs to who? The school. And so you can't let the buildings and everything go down. You can't let the equipment go down and not get the support of the school. You have to work together. And so the president of the school, the dean of the College of Veterinary Medicine, the fundraising apparatus, the infrastructure, they have to all work together. And it doesn't matter that you're sitting on a great historical building with a historical past. That won't get you through today. That's called a museum, right? You have to be relevant for today, and you have to modernize and keep up. We did not always do that in the College of Veterinary Medicine. And another very sensitive subject. I think it was 2 months ago, I read an article that says, Tuskegee has a budget problem and has therefore let go 10 or so School of Veterinary Medicine employees. You ever read that? Right? So that just wasn't true. It was true that we let 10 people go. It wasn't true that it had anything to do with budget. Had nothing to do with budget. We could have paid them. We didn't want to pay them no more. That's the fact. We had to look at our employees, our teachers, our instructors, and across the campus. And we have to do what's best for the university. The School of Veterinary Medicine needs a refresh. We have to look ourselves in the face and say that. And when it comes to running schools and universities, it's not social work. It really isn't. It's not a jobs program. It really isn't. We have to do what's best for the school, which is heartbreaking at times. Because at the end of the day, we do love people quite a bit, as we are supposed to, right? But this is business. And so we have to conduct the business of the university in a business way. That's part of what this was about. And so we've changed the top. So we've also brought in, we've got a dean that's focused. We have an interim dean, and we're doing a worldwide search for dean. We found a great expert that many of you all know, Dr. Willie Reed, who was the dean at Purdue University, went through an accreditation issue, brought them back, built a new school, made at the School of Veterinary Medicine at Tuskegee, understands that, Alabama native. So he had all the credentials that we need. Now, he won't come to us full time, but he will come as a consultant. So he works for me as a consultant. And so I asked him about the new architecture. I asked him about the new design. I asked him about hiring instructors, how to find the best dean. And he provides me that advice as well as the school. We need somebody like that that's willing to help us, and he's there, and he's a part of this process. Next chart. So what is it that they question? They question three things. Finances are inadequate to achieve and remain compliance. This is essentially what they say. First finding. Second one, clinical resources not adequate in quantity and variety. The third one, test scores. Test scores. In other words, you go through the school, right, and you have to go through, how many veterinarians do we have in here? Because some of you all understand this better than anybody, right? You have to pass, right? Got to pass the NAFLE test. Got to pass it. 80% of those testing need to pass. Now look, we can argue about a whole lot of things, but it's hard to argue with math. And a certain number of people take it, certain number of people graduate. I think they take it first or take it second. They have a window to take it in. Did 80% pass or not? Now, I'm going to tell you, for 10 years, with the 2 years exceptions, we did not meet that standard. And now, look, I know we love the vet school. I love the vet school. We don't want it to, but we got to ask ourselves a hard question. If you go through 4 years at a school, a standardized test is established that tests your competency in the areas. Should you be able to pass? I don't care where you went to school. It's not an HBCU thing, a PWI thing, Ivy League, wherever. Should you be able to pass the test? Is it an unfair question to ask that at least 8 out of 10 of those students pass? It's not an unfair question. Why didn't they pass? I think we got to ask, why don't they pass the test? There's nothing, this is not a racial issue, or it's a test. And if they aren't passing, we have to ask why, and what we're doing in that 4 years that's not preparing them to pass. And if we can't do that, then we can't do this. They got to pass the test. And we got to hold that up as a standard. They got to pass the test. Our academic rigor has to be there. Our acceptance rates. We have to accept people that can go to vet school. Now, let me tell you, I've had this discussion too. Well, you should accept a broad, look, everybody's not going to be a veterinarian. Had I applied after undergrad, they should not have accepted me. I'm sure I wasn't ready to go to vet school. And so, there are some of us that are going to be this very select group of people who have that acumen and who have that, and that's who should go to vet school. Vet school is not for everybody. It should be hard. It should be a few people. Some of you all have pets, right? When you walk in, what do you want? Right? You don't want the bottom quartile of the graduating class, do you? You want somebody that has proved their competency in this area. And so we got to make sure we're accepting the right people, that we're giving them the rigor, and that they pass. Now, this one, I disagree with them. They said the college must have sufficient funding to do this. And their baseline for 2021, they baseline this in 2021. Well, in 2021, the finances of Tuskegee did not look like they did in 2023. And so I think they need, we're going to challenge them on this. We think they need to look at this differently. I provided for them, the university, bank statements, audited records. I provided for them a financial institution that said Tuskegee has the ability to borrow enough money to build a new vet school. Well above $80 million if we wanted to. Tuskegee has already put in $18 million into a project that starts in August. Tuskegee is financially solvent. They did not take that as evidence. And so that we will legally fight. That part we will, not necessarily the test part. But the finance part is just not true. We have a superior credit rating. We have a good way to borrow dollars if we need to. We have a comprehensive campaign that will start with the vet school. So I disagree with this one. I think we have adequate resources and have financially proven that we can do this. And will do it, have the commitment. We have the board of trustees having said, yes, we will invest in the vet school, having given that $18 million. The $18 million, most of it, I just want to give you just a little bit more here to think about. So you remember that Mackenzie Scott gave money to the university. The university took $10 million and invested. They had $10 million they put in endowment. Well, the $10 million they took and invested in the free market did well, 5 to 7%. So almost $13 million of that first $18 million is not coming from the corpus of Tuskegee. It's coming from what they earned in the market, right? So we are doing the wise investments that are necessary. We can do this. We can build a new vet school, and they cannot argue, just like we can't argue with the 80%. They can't argue with the numbers on the balance sheet. So we ought to push back on that a little bit, I think. I think we have the resources to do so. Next chart. And this shows you, right? The architects have done the first phase of the program. They are closing. Dr. Reed is helping them. You'll see us advertise a ribbon cutting ceremony, cutting the area where we're building the new vet school, first phase 1, small animal clinic. You'll see that before September. That's evidence that now, let's say that the decisions go in a different direction than what we want them to go into. We're still going to build a new vet school. As I'll show, we're not going to drop our commitment to the vet school no matter what those decisions are. So we're going to build a new vet school. All right, next chart. Now, if you look at this is about the number of patients that come into the small animal clinic, the actual experience that the students get. And I've had a full education on this, right? It's not just any kind, it's all the different categories of animals, right? I mean, you got to have a llama every now and then. You got to have so many small cats and so many dogs and so many large animals, so many farm animals. And it has to be a variety of which to allow the experience to happen in a clinical atmosphere. If you don't have it on the campus, you have to have documented agreements with others who do have it, like adjunct professors. Let's say you had an adjunct professor and they worked at Auburn and there was a clinic there, and the student might go over there and get that experience. Some of my veterinarians will attest to that, right? You can go get it elsewhere. I don't think we did a good enough job of documenting where the students were going to get the experience, nor do I think we were robust enough with it. Remember, we have a lot of alumni in Atlanta who have practices. We have alumni in Montgomery, Auburn, all around. And so we could have had more robust, documented relationships and a better way of showing where that experience occurred, and we would have, I think, come out differently on this one. So we're pushed back a little bit here. We'll see where it goes. But that's important. Now, why don't they have more animals coming in? Well, all things are related. And if you watch the population in Tuskegee, Alabama, it has declined significantly over the last 20 years. So the number of people that were there, living there, the people that actually worked there and lived there and brought their pets into the small animal clinic has gone down dramatically. The same reason that people don't have houses there, right? So if your community does not have that population, how will you get the pets and all those others in at the variety to do it in the quantity? This is at the heart of this problem. It's not necessarily that someone did anything intentionally wrong, but now it makes sense, right? If you have not had that practice or documented, will you be able to do well on the test? It makes sense, right? That you need to show that. So they are looking for evidence. that the students have been exposed. What do? They take the log from the small animal hospital. The log, because you have a log, just like a patient log, right? And they do the data. And if that's all they have that you provided, they come up with their conclusion based on that data. It's not unfair, but it might be incomplete. That's how we got into trouble here. We have to have the variety of animals so that the clinical experience can happen, either in the hospital or documented around us. We got to do a better job at that. And the hospital has to be big enough and modern enough for you to be able to take care of the animals there. It's not big enough. It's not modern enough. It hasn't been changed in years. We have to build a new one, and then we have to have more robust relationships. We also have to have a way, as I learned, to go pick up animals from the shelter. Now, you would think we'd have broke the code on this one a long time ago, right? They call you, you go get a truck, you go pick them up. Well, we didn't. We didn't. But now we got a designated truck, we got a designated driver, we got designated relationships with the shelters. So if they call and they say, look, unfortunately, Fido didn't make it, but you all can do, an autopsy on them, that will help. We're going to go get Fido, bring him back. Now, I know this is more information than you all need before lunch, but this is how they do it. This is how it works in the hospital. This is how it works. This is how you get experiences, various experiences. And we have to do better at that. And then the last one, so the vehicle transport, all of that has been done. Let's go to the next chart. This is the one where, as I told you, with the exception of 2 years, our students didn't do it. And some of this is test-taking skills. If you ever noticed, there's a lot of argument in education about the use of the SAT and the ACT, right? And one of the reasons there's a lot of argument is because it's more a measurement of your ability to take a test than your actual knowledge, right? That's part of what's back there. It's been an argument for years. And I've heard people say, take out the ACT, take out the SAT. Those things aren't indicators, and then our students will do just fine. I don't know. Because I don't buy that we can't take the test. We can take the test. Now, maybe we need to learn how to take tests. And so maybe part of the inject into this curriculum is test-taking skills. Now, do you still need that? You still need that. You still need that. You don't get it through K through 12. You might not get it through undergraduate. It's a higher level of learning. Do you need it? I think you still need it. We need to put services like that into to help our students get ready. Our dean tried to say, if you don't pass the practice test, we're not going to let you graduate. Our previous dean, essentially that's what she said. I'm going to give you a test, a qualifying test. If you don't pass the qualifying test, we're not going to let you graduate. Students did not like that. So they got up in an uproar. Some of them went to the accreditors, right, and said, look, they're trying to make the test scores look better by not letting us graduate. Now, the dean would say, you're not ready to graduate because you can't pass the test. The students would say, you should have told me that in year 1. I'm in year 3. So anyway, that was a good little debate. In the end, we were unable to give that qualifying test unless you were coming into your first year. Not for the years 2, 3, and 4, because they didn't come in under those circumstances. And I also think the accreditors didn't like that. So that might have helped a little bit in their right. They thought we were trying to manipulate a little bit. And I actually think the dean was trying to do what she thought was best, which was say, learn how to take and pass the test, right? I think that's what the dean was trying to do. Either way, this qualifying test now only applies to year 1, not to the other 3 years. Next chart. So here's how it goes. Human capital sources, need for clinical resources, lack of hands-on practice. The accreditors say that results in a high failure rate. They feel all of them work together, and that's where the vet school has been on this kind of watch, if you will, for several years, and now gone to this stage, which is what the uproar is. I'm scheduled, I think, on Monday by noon to meet with the vet school to kind of talk about our next steps. I put out a letter, I believe it should have gotten to alumni of the vet school. We'll put out a different letter to the greater alumni. We'll be very transparent about this, but we have not lost our accreditation at this point. We're in this process, and I hope this next chart, I think we're going to talk about that. Here's where we are. I had this meeting about a month ago, and I said that our written response would be submitted to AVMA by the 20th. We met that date, got there about a day early. They had their review just after the 10th, and they disagreed with us. They said insufficient evidence. Here's where we are now. Next chart. So we have paid a $10,000 fee in order to go into an appeal process. We've already paid our fee. We're in the appeal process. We've hired a lawyer, will, I think, sign them on by Tuesday of next week. A lawyer that specializes in writing these, right? So our approach is going to be aggressive. Our aggressive approach is going to be you have to pay attention to the data, just like you want us to pay attention to the data. We believe we've made progress. We may or may not win that, but we're taking that approach. We stay accredited during that process. We stay accredited during that process. Everybody's school is accredited during that process. The accreditation status of the university shall remain unchanged during the review. We're in the review. All right? So let's all communicate the same way about the vet school. We're in the review process. Right? We plan to challenge the decision, the temporary decision of AVMA. That's what we plan to do. And we've hired advisors and legal help to do so. That's where the vet school is at. Okay, all right. All right, I'm gonna speed up, let's go. So go back. I wanna make sure this last chart. So if we were to get into a terminal accreditation process, every 6 months or so we would go back if we had made changes that they had not recognized before. If we were to get into that process. All right, so I wanna make sure, and again, there are further meetings on this, but I wanna make sure you understand where we are. Now, if we get into terminal accreditation and they reject our final appeal, then we can't take in a class during that period of time, right? We wouldn't be able to. You follow me? Yes. But we're not there yet. We're in the review process. All right, next chart. All right, so there we go. Here's what we're going to execute the plan. Next chart. I want to talk a little bit about what it means to have a student there today, what they will be doing. Next chart. Here's where our students come from. I want you all to work hard on this region so that the percentages can go back up. All right, there's a deep relationship with this region, and I'd like to see more people, more students coming in from this region. Now, one thing I will tell you, and I don't know if it's the charter school system or what it is, we have some high-performing students, very high-performing students that come from this region. But most of our students are from Alabama and Georgia. I would argue that most of you all from Alabama and Georgia, right? So when you went to Tuskegee, you may not be living there now, but when you went to Tuskegee, you might have been from Alabama and Georgia. We have a good percentage that keep coming from California, and I attribute that to the alumni. We also, our alumni in Atlanta are really, really intensively recruiting, and so Georgia continues to go up in terms of percentages, and I think Texas and Florida have always been, right there. So that's where our students are from. All right, next. Our freshman retention rate, 8 out of 10 stay, and that's about right. That's good for the country. Our 6-year graduation rate, I want it to get better. So we need to be in the upper 60s, and we're at 57%, but we know why. We know why. The invisible missing person on the Tuskegee campus is the black male. Almost 7 out of 10 are female. The black male, we're not doing so good with. The ones that do come, we have a harder time getting them to stay. We can talk about why, but we have a special program that's standing up specifically to retain and mentor black males. And the reason is that it costs a lot to go to school. I have things at home for which I think I ought to be responsible. I'm going to go a different route. Can I make money while I'm in school? All of those things. I don't do well in my first classes. Pride. I don't like people telling me I didn't pass. I quit. We got to get inside of the psychic there and do a better job of retaining our black males. Next chart. This program, as I said earlier, look, I'm going to tell you. Someone say, how do you engage politically? Politics are transactions, in my opinion. Tuskegee's bipartisan. You got the transaction, it works for us, we're happy. Sometimes it doesn't, so we're not happy. A Republican senator from Alabama, Senator Katie Britt, has put in the appropriations bill the money that we use to pay for this program. And she's done it consistently. So we're going to award Katie Britt an honorary degree in the future here. And I know somebody's going to call me because I'm just telling you right now, I know I can hear it coming right now. How could you How could you go so far as to do this? And here's why. Because she has consistently provided us the resources, not the rhetoric, that allows us to let a student go all the way to a commercial pilot's license at no cost. That's why. That's why. And I think you have to recognize that. And the world needs aviators, and I can't find anybody that doesn't support the program when we talk about it, but I can only find a few people who have resourced it, and she has. These students are in the program. They're flying today. We have a contract with the Lift Academy that's helping them. I have to just point out that these are all volunteers, but 11 of them are females. Now, some of you that flew here, you get back or whatever, tell me if you got a female pilot that flew you home. And if you got a female pilot of color that flew you home, make sure you take a picture. Because there aren't very many, right? Even in the country today. I remember as a kid in small town Georgia, in Jet Magazine. I was a Jet Magazine fan. I used to be a Jet Magazine. I loved me some Jet Magazine. And I will admit, I went straight to the centerfolds and all that stuff back then. I did. But I also looked at the cover. And one time on the cover of Jet Magazine, there was a lady named Nikki Knight. She had a helmet underneath, and she was the first person of color to have graduated in flying helicopters for the United States Army. Now, look, I probably still got it in my books. I knew Nikki Knight. I knew her. I lived, it's called a street called 312 3rd Street, and this is Georgia. Every street got a number, not a name. And so I was right down there, and up the street across the tracks was Nikki Knight. And where did she go to school? Tuskegee. Colonel Nikki Knight, Colonel retired Nikki Knight, breaking barriers from Tuskegee. I was inspired. And I know that young women will still be inspired, and young men all over the world, as they see these people graduate and go do amazing things in aviation, just like Nikki Knight did from Tuskegee for the U.S. Army. All right? And so when we do this, I'm telling you, it's more than just the student. It inspires the world to go do it. And that's what Tuskegee does. That's kind of what Tuskegee does. But we look at all of the majors and what percentage are graduating and who applies to them. The reason we better pay attention to reason we better pay attention to the vet school, a lot of people that come to Tuskegee come with the intent to continue on to vet school. The highest applied major is what? It's the Animal, Poultry, and Veterinary Science program. They come into the Canes program and then hope to move on to the School of Veterinary Medicine. If we were not to be able to do that, it wouldn't just hurt the vet school. It would hurt enrollment across the entire university. We can't afford, I'll say it over and over again, we got to have the vet school up and running. We have to have it up and running. But our enrollment's up. We will be, this year, when it's all said and done, probably at a 5-year high. Tuskegee enrollment is up. We're doing well. And we're trying to hold tuition as close as we can to inflation. And that tuition does not include room and board. You got to add another $6,000 or so, depending on which one you decide to stay in, which dorm you decide to stay in. So it's not cheap to go to Tuskegee. It's not. It's not the most expensive school, but it certainly is not the least expensive school. Our product has to be good. Our dorms have to be good. Now, why do I say that? Because there's some economics here. You can go to Auburn University, a state school down the street for half the price. The likelihood that if you are a person of color and that you persist to graduation is far greater at an HBCU because of the attention given to you, but sometimes that's not enough to make a student make a decision. You can go to Purdue, you can go to Mizzou, you can go to vet school, a lot of other places. You don't have to go to Tuskegee. Our product has to be good enough to compete in a market where students have choices. And I know that. And so when we talk about the comprehensive campaign and raising money, keep in mind that we have to be good. Our products have to be good. We can't put people in dormitories that aren't satisfactory. Because these are students, this is not Mark Brown attending school in the 80s just glad to get there. These folks got choices. They come from houses with big bedrooms. They already got cars, right? So this is a different day is my point. All right, next chart. And so we are working to hold the tuition to inflation, but we won't always be able to do that. Because as you buy new things and build new things, it has to be reflected to some degree in the tuition. But we're doing that for this coming year. The only increase you see is inflation, not just a tag increase. There's a small increase for vet school enrollment because we're building a new veterinarian school in medicine. Next chart. Next chart. Maybe next chart. All right. I am very, very proud of the fact that, let's go through each one of these, but I want to talk about Canes here. Go to the next chart. So Canes is growing all the food that's in the cafeteria that's greeny leaf vegetables, and they've been doing that now since last semester, and will continue to do it through the fall. Our students make this point, that they want fresh food, and they want it to, they make this point. Again, this is a different group of students. We have changed our vendor. We had a vendor was doing food service. It did not work out, and so we let them go. And we are now using Sodexo Magic, Magic Johnson Enterprises, as part of the folks that run this. And they are committed to this healthy aspect of what we're doing, quality and cleanliness. Why did we make the change? Well, we tried not to make the change. We tried to go through all the iterations. We were not making progress. And so, again, this is a business, and we have to go where we think we can make the business. The students demanded that we do better, and we're trying to do better. All right, next. Our students are very socially engaged. They have voting rights campaigns. They are still engaged. They're doing these kind of things on their own, not because we're asking them. And let me just tell you, you want students to be politically aware. You know, I want to believe that the future leaders of government are on the campus. We can't ignore government. I think we've all come to the conclusion we can't ignore government, right? And so we have students who are doing that. Next chart. And they're also very health aware. I mean, these are drives that they do on their own. On their own. We don't say go do a prostate. They do this on their own. They are that aware. Next chart. I think I talked about this earlier, but I do want to say that health disparities in Macon County is an issue. People are more likely to die of prostate cancer. People are more likely to die of breast cancer in Macon County than in other places. And so the research that we do can reflect that at Tuskegee. We should be a part of the solution, and we're doing that. We're doing that. Next chart. Our teams are winning. And you know, this is the commander's trope, if you will, that we got in at the Macon County Athletic Place just a couple of weeks ago. A.D. Ruffin, I got full confidence in A.D. Ruffin and what he wants to do. Our stadium looks good. Soccer is less than 2 years away. The Tuskegee soccer team, right? Former international students. Right? We are growing. We'll talk about the first night game. I hope some of you all can make it. So we're on the way. And look, I also want to be transparent with you. I told every coach this, and it isn't popular as well, that you must win 80% of your games. You must win 80% of your games. If you can't win 80% of your games, not sure if we got the right coach. Now, why do I say that? Here's why I say that. This is business. And college athletics represent the school. I'm not going up to the Turkey Day Classic to lose to Alabama State no more. Or any of these other teams who I didn't even know had football teams 20 years ago. Tuskegee has one of the most winning cultures in HBCU history. The Abbott State, there's something to that. Why are we losing? If we invest in the athletes, if we provide scholarships, if we have a great stadium, if you look at our stadium and you look at our president's box and you look at the locker rooms, it looks better than almost every other one that you will go to at an HBCU, especially private. You don't do all of that to lose. So we got to win. Look, I'm not an athlete, but I know what the score is at the end of the game, and we need to win. We need to win. And so that's the charge that they have. This team here, I just love to talk about the female tennis team at Tuskegee. Highest grade point average of any of the athletic teams, always above 3.0, have won SIAC 2 consecutive years? Oh, they can play. They can play some tennis. The coach is also a counselor, academic counselor. It helps to have the academic counselor running the team. That's the picture of what we want. The indoor track team is doing the same thing. Now, let me tell you, again, I want to be transparent with you. I have people that come to me and say, that indoor track coach that you got, track coach, she's mean. I've heard it. I've got it in writing a couple times. You know, she might be. I don't know. I'm not out there with them. I'm not debating it, but she's also winning. So we'll deal with that. We'll deal with it. But we want teams that win, and coaching is hard. Very proud of these guys. They did not win at the very top, but they were number 2 in the playoffs in Atlanta. And I'm here to tell you, I was there, and it was as good as if you were watching the Boston Celtics at the Los Angeles Lakers. It was a great game. It was a great game. They lost the championship and a last-second shot. You remember when? And you were there with me. Last-second shot. They wanted to win so bad, these grown men were crying. Tears, including the coach. Now, I'm not glad that they were crying, but I'm glad that they wanted to win so bad that they were willing to leave it all out there. That's what sports is about. We've got a great team, and I hope they go even further next year. So what is it that we're looking for? And I know we're out of time, but just work with me here for a little bit. Here's what we want. What does the vision say? I want to be the number 1 HBCU, right? Before I get done with the next 3 years, the number 1 HBCU in this country, without question. And I know that Spelman's been the number 1 HBCU for 13, 15 years. I got all that. My sister went to Spelman. Every time I turn around, Spelman. I got it. Spelman and Morehouse. I got it. And Howard. But Tuskegee deserves to be the number 1 HBCU, and I think we can prove that. I want to show that we do that by putting our students first and their performance. How do you measure the number 1 HBCU? What do they want to do? Low student debt, high grade point average, high graduation rates, right? Research, that's how they measure it. Well, that's the things we want to do anyway. But we have to engineer them into the program. R2 status means that you have a high research-based university. We should have already had that, but we're shooting for it. I'll talk about that. TU Global Campus talks about what happens after 2028. People learn differently. People learn differently. The Purdue University Global Campus, the University of Maryland Global Campuses enroll more people than do the brick and mortar classes. And so a school of 5,000 or 4,000 can be a school of 8,000 or 9,000 and still not build the infrastructure for that because people learn in the virtual space. But they make the decision based on the name, not the platform behind it. The name is Tuskegee. Tuskegee University Global Campus. I want to sign up students for that. I believe if I go into the military and tell some enlisted people that they can attend a historically black college and university named Tuskegee, I believe they'll do it. And I also know that they'll get 100% tuition assistance paid for by the military. That I do know. So they win, we win, right? They get the degree that they want, and they represent Tuskegee all over the world. Tuskegee University Global Campus is important. I call it a Renaissance period. And I'll talk about that in the capital campaign. Next chart. All right, number 1 HBCU. Remember, we're going to be the number 1 HBCU. Amen. We're number 3 right now, and we're going up to number 1. Next chart. And this is how we're going to do it. Student makes less than 80% on a test, they go into tutoring, if they want to or if they don't. Why? Because I found out that it works. Math 107, the introductory course, right? We had a horrendous rate. And we said, look, we brought in 19 different instructors. What are you all doing? It's not just the students. Why can't people pass? Well, they don't come prepared. They aren't ready for school. They're looking on their phone. That's called a student these days, right? Yes, they do that, but it's not acceptable. And so we sent them to tutoring. We got up to an 80% pass rate. 80% pass rate in 1 year. They can do it. It's not easy, right? But you got to hold the student accountable. And you can't just say to a freshman, do as you please. That doesn't work that way. You got to do sometimes what people tell you to do until you understand how to make better decisions. I know that's a harsh thing for an academic environment, but I believe it with all my heart that I would want, if my son's in school, I would want someone to make him go to tutoring. Would you not want the same? I think we have to do that in math and chemistry. It will help our retention, and it will help these students come back the next year because they'll be proud of themselves. They may not want to do it. Now, look, they don't want to do it. I don't want to mislead you. If you want to ask them, they don't just rush over to get this tutoring. They drag over there. But as long as they get it, right? That's really the point. All right. R2 status. Here's the real point about research. We're doing cancer-based research, as an example. We're doing research still on the sweet potato and all of the nutrients that you can get out of that. We're doing environmental protection research. It's the research that the world cares about. But when we are in R2 status, we get more grants to do that research. That's why we want to be in R2 status. You have to invest a certain amount of money. We already exceed that amount. But you have to have graduates that get doctoral degrees beyond 25 a year. That's where we have to get better. We're creating new programs that will allow us to have the graduates, specifically in the international student population. That's how we get to R2 status. The roadmap, I won't go into all of it with you here, but the roadmap is very clear. We can make our way to R2 status. All right, and we have to pay the researchers. Now, that's a big deal, right? We have researchers. I met someone last night that works at NIH. So we depend quite a bit on NIH, by the way. We depend on NIH. You all know NIH, National Institute of Health, right? They provide the research grants that fuel universities. This whole federal government thing that we've been going through, it hurts universities. If you take back research money, and we recruited that researcher at a salary of $160,000 a year, we only paid $50,000 of it. Another $110,000 of it was paid by NIH in the research grant. You take the research grant, we got to either make up the gap or we will lose that high quality researcher. That's what this comes down to. And so we make lots of trips to Washington, right? We talk to them as much as we can. We say, did you intend to do this? Because it hurts. Doing research in the Black Belt is different than doing research in another part of the country. I mean, the cell research, the tissue research that we're sampling are coming from places that have the biggest problems with cancer. We're trying to make the world know that this is, look, if you use this to come up with a drug that helps, it doesn't just help people in Alabama. It helps people all over the world. So this is the point that we're trying to make. Next chart. All right, new degree programs that are going to help with this. Next chart. We talked about the global campus. All right, Renaissance period. We're going to build things. We're going to grow. How are we going to get to that? We're going to do all of these things, and I'm going to go through them real quickly. Come on. Go to the next chart. Tuskegee Village. You all know where, depending on when you went to school, so I got to watch my references here. You know what used to be the Chambliss School of Business? You with me? All right. Let's go behind the Chambliss School of Business, right? There's a baseball field out there, right? Go a little bit further, you get to the adult apartments where married couples live. Tuskegee owns all of that. If you go right behind there, Tuskegee Village. Now, I don't know how long we're going to keep the adult apartments up because they don't look that good. But Tuskegee Village would be out there. We're on the last contractor. In fact, we may sign this contractor pretty soon. Now, you say, isn't that long-term debt? This is probably a $45, $50 million project. The proposal on the table is to lease the land in exchange for the construction, which means to take away the long-term debt, but to get the value of occupancy. We don't sell land. We don't sell land. Like, people want to buy the land, we don't sell land. Look, it was too hard for the federal government to give it to us in the first place, so we don't sell land, and you wouldn't get that much for it in Alabama anyway because the price of land is not what you might think. But if you lease land and they occupy it, we get the value without the debt. Tuskegee Village is the vision there, and we're not that far off from it. We've gone through a series of contractors. We're very blessed. There's a guy named Van Benedict Sapp that you all might know, Dr. Sapp, who retired as Senior Vice President of PepsiCo. He's been on the lead front of some of this negotiation for us, right? Trying to make sure we get the best value. So we're getting toward the end of this. We believe we have the right contractor. We got some more due diligence to do. But imagine these kinds of apartments. So you don't have to go to Auburn to get a nice apartment, right? If you're a student, you can get it right there in Tuskegee Village. So it's coming. All right. And when you come into, we're the only, a bit of trivial. What is the only HBCU that's a National Historic Site? Tuskegee. Now, but we need more people to know that. And it needs to be obvious. You can just keep on driving right down Old Montgomery Road and never know you passed the National Historic Site, right? We need something that's really big right at that Lincoln Gate that says National Historic Site, right? Yeah, it's when you go to a museum that has national prominence, you know that you are there, right? By virtue of the signage and the physical aspect of it. You need to know that when you come off of Chambliss Road that way and you look at the front, you need to know you're at a National Historic Site. Inside of it needs to be the story of Tuskegee, right? And that's what that is all about. That's what this project is all about. And look, we would be doing so much more with research and resources that stay in Tuskegee if we had a place for people to stay. And you all would probably come. I talked to somebody last night, said I hadn't been there in 20 years, and then when I was there, I had found a friend who used to have a house, and then they were over. Look, it's too hard to come to Tuskegee, right? Because the logistics are hard. This will make it better. And when Benjamin Peyton, and I believe it was during Peyton's time, I'm almost certain that he came up with this, that's what he had in mind. He imagined that some of the great research would be presented in the Kellogg Center. That's why some of the buildings are built like they are. And we made a mistake as a university. We let that go, and we never should have. So we're still looking for the third party to join this, but this is a part of it. And our logic is here on the next slide. We want to be a part of we want to be a robust part of the National Historic Trail, the Civil Rights Trail. My mother came to visit me. Help me here, roommate. About 6 weeks ago. And she brought her whole Bible study class from Chicago. Yeah, it was about 12 or 14 of them, I think. 14 of them. They aged from 93 to about 80-something. I think we had a couple of spry 77s in there. But they all came, and they visited Tuskegee. And we got to host them. And they went to Montgomery, and they went to Selma, right? And they spent this historic trail. They were so impressed with this. And I think that there are elements from all over the country that would love to do that. Now, they had to stay in Auburn, right? And we had to go back and get the logistics. But there are people, we have something here, is my point, of value that we ought to be taking advantage of. And so that's part of our logic here. The Rosenwald School, our relationship with the Jewish community, that built 400 schools in Alabama, 4,000 around the country when no one else would invest in K through 12. That was Booker T. and the president and CEO of Sears Roebuck that did that. And we started partnering with the Jewish community. They gave us in Atlanta $250,000 last week. And the reason they did is because we want a deeper partnership with them just like we had back then. Now, I know not everybody's going to like this. I can just tell you in advance. Here comes the email. Here come the notes. Remember, we are neutral. We're very much transactional as a university, right? $250,000. We needed it. And I think we can develop this relationship and also educate our people on it. Next chart. Reimagine the green space. You know, if you look at the back of the Carver Museum and you look at where the back of the Kellogg Center is, that's a beautiful green space, right? Right? Where there should be beautiful natural plants there. You ought to be able to have lunch amongst that. It's easy connection. We already have it. We already have it. We imagine that and developing that. So our instructors go there for lunch. Other people go there for lunch. When you're there, you go there for lunch. Next chart. You all have heard me talk about this before. Part of the comprehensive campaign, you might be able to buy one. This part, you all should buy one. I'm just going to suggest that you do what you would. Here's one you ought to buy. Where does Chief Alfred Anderson come from? No. Where's he come from? I'm going to let you all research that. Where does he come from? What region of the country did he come from? That's right. Right up the street here. Part of the person that would be a part of this region. Did Chief Alfred Anderson change aviation for the world? People of color? Yeah. So I'm just going to tell you. You all decide what you're going to do as a reason. But do you think do you think a student going there today, this young lady, ought to be able to be walking along the campus, take a rest, right? And read something where there's this motto sitting there that says, Chief Alfred Anderson, from somewhere close to where you live, right, and here's what he did while he was at Tuskegee. history all over the campus, honoring our past, where students and everybody see it come to life with them. And we learn too, because sometimes it's been a while. Some of you all hadn't read Up from Slavery in a while, all right? The history of Tuskegee. It'd be good to see some of this. All right, next chart. Lonnie Johnson, I'm going to continue. This is already an agreement we have. You'll see it as part of our comprehensive campaign. Lonnie Johnson Research Center. Lonnie Johnson, super soaker, but Lonnie Johnson extending the life of the battery, right? When others are trying to figure it out, Tuskegee man. All right, next chart. H.J. Russell. H.J. Russell, the biggest construction contractor of color in our lifetime. Tuskegee graduate. Imagine the parkway named after him. This is right across from Kresge, right? If you look at where Kresge's at, it's right across from Kresge. Part of that is the Student Center, right? And part of it is the Lonnie Johnson Research Center. The whole circle, including the architecture building, the Lonnie Johnson, the H.J. Russell Parkway. Celebrating the Russell family will join us in the comprehensive campaign to raise the money for this. Next chart. Genomics Research Center. It will be there before homecoming in terms of the construction started. I don't mean complete. Construction started before homecoming. This grant comes from the federal government. This is not debt on our books. But what's it for? It's for research, the cancer research that I was talking about that deals with genes. Next chart. And I just talked about that earlier. The way we build a vet school is in phases so that we don't have to stop any of the current students. So phase one, and slightly over from where it's already at, right? So the siting is the same. There's nothing wrong with the location of vet school. The modern technology is what we're talking about. Next chart. The chapel is done. Next chart. Chapel is already fixed. I hope you've been in it. If not, come back home and we'll put you in there. We're putting some technology in it that wasn't there before. But you know, if you've been there recently, what was our concern? The carpet, right? The chips on the seats, the ceiling coming in, the lighting. That's fixed. If you go there now, that's fixed. Now we got to make sure that the IT is there as well, and they're putting the IT in. It should be there before the fall. Gwen, where's Gwen? Gwen is my wife. Gwen was very much involved in the renovation of the graveyard. If you haven't been there lately, the tombstones have been changed. Remember all the cracked up tombstones? We've changed them, redone them. Flowers are out there in the color of Tuskegee. We have a big wreath that does it. And Booker T. Washington's grave is lit 24/7, right? Thank you. Thank you for that. September 6th, we're going to turn the lights on. Now, you know, my friends from Alabama State go, man, please, y'all just get into that? I heard that a couple of times. That's all right. Go ahead and get your laughs out. But at Tuskegee, it's going to be a big deal on September 6th. We're expecting 10,000 plus folks. Now, let me tell you, it's not going to be cheap. We're going to have to hire over 100 police officers to make sure everything is safe there. And we're going to hire them, too, because safety is important. And you know what? A lot of things come out at night, not all friendly. So we need to be careful with that. This has been completed. If you remember, we had that off so you can visit George Washington Carver. I still want our alumni to consider the Jock Smith House, but I've almost run out of time. I'm just going to be honest with you here. We're going to sell the Jock Smith House if we don't get something pretty quick. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if we don't, it will continue to go in disarray. You know, we have to make sure it doesn't rain on the inside. We have to do these things. We have to be careful because you can't just leave a house there. We got to do something with it. We got to do something with it. And so we got a lot of houses. We're not going to just go. I want you to meet some of the new people real quick. All right. This brother, Dr. Brandon Tolliver, is a Tuskegee graduate, first of all. He's going to be our super engineer. He's coming in out of the Pentagon, as a matter of fact. And he understands engineering, and I'm not talking about the day-to-day work as much as I am a long-range plan for the campus. He's already designed, in many cases, a long-range plan for the campus. He understands what it means to have a digital campus. He's a proven commodity. He may be there when I get back already. The dean of the chapel, Dean Julius S. Scott Sr. He was Dean Duffy. He was at Wiley University. Has written extensively on student involvement in the chapel services, student-led chapel services. We got some work to do on the chapel attendance at the chapel. We need students to get back to the chapel, right? But they're not coming just because we ask them to. And we're not the kind of school that mandates you to go to chapel. You got to come because there's something that strikes you as being important enough to go see. And we are depending on this chaplain to bring that back to Tuskegee. Our School of Education, we got to have more people in the School of Education for it to continue functioning, in my view. We got to have more than 8, 9 graduates. And so we need a new way of looking at education, right? A new way of providing different roads to be economically okay after you become a teacher. And we have this Tuskegee graduate who has also been a school teacher and already has been an assistant dean, to do that. And I think we've got the right lady to do that. And she's serious about this business. I enjoyed speaking to her. We have this young man who is also a third generation, I think, Tuskegee graduate. Some of you all, if you were there when I was there, may remember Rico, who played baseball. Right? Some of you, all right, some of you all were there. It's a long time ago, but they are related. They are related. And he is, our CFO business has to become better than what it is, by far, in terms of transparency of financial records, the ability to respond, pay people on time, collect on time. All of that has to get better. And we need people that are going to be transformational in the change. That's why we hired this young man. I never thought we needed to combine architecture and engineering as one place. Our architecture and construction is in and of itself important enough to have its own dean. And so this young lady is going to be the dean of that school. She's also going to bring to us an architectural engineering degree, right, which is another degree in the program. And she's got the background. She's got the background to do it. Our CIO has brought systems together in the community college system of Alabama, integrated systems. We have to be better at technology. We have far too much paper, far too much paper for this time, this day and age, right? And so he's going to be a part of that system to get us to the paperless environment that we want. Capital campaign. So Dr. A.L. Fleming, stand up, Dr. Fleming, because I don't have no picture of you up there. So I'm going to tell you something about fundraising. It's not just the art part of it, it's the science part of it too. You got to be certified in fundraising, right? There's certifications that you have to go through. He has them all, and some, which is why I hired him. So we have to get very, very good at fundraising and alumni engagement. Our percentages can be higher, but it may not be higher because we don't have activity. It may be higher, not as high, because we don't have the technology to record who's active. Endowments have to be accurate. Your annual endowment statement has to be timely, and it has to be right. And so we fundamentally changed 100% of that part of our organization. So it's him, and it's, I think, about 13 or 14 more people.
23 people now.
23 in budget. In budget.
Not a penny over.
Not a penny over. I'm just checking. But we are rebuilding that part before we go into the capital campaign, because if you're not good at the backroom stuff, you're not ready to go into the comprehensive campaign. That's why this is so important. And here's what I would tell you. Please don't hold him to his father's sins. When you talk to him, just remember, he didn't do what happened to you in 88 and 79. He didn't do it. So start with a rebuild, if you will, and an understanding. We understand that to be something we have to do better at, and we will. And we will do it under this motto: the case for Tuskegee. The case for Tuskegee. You'll hear us talk about this in our Renaissance. The case for Tuskegee is that we work on the things that solve the world's most complex problems. You're going to hear that over and over, and we're going to prove it. We work on the things that solve the world's most complex problems. Next chart. And we're going into the public phase in just a few months, just a couple months, few weeks. Next chart. And this is the event. I'm going to tell you right now what it is. And I'm going to tell you that if you don't have an invitation, you have an invitation. It might be coming, I don't know. I don't know specifically where it would be. Friday, September 19th, 11 or 12, noon, Chappie James Center. We're going to have the very first event, which is my investiture. So we're going to do that in Chappie James, noon. We got enough seats for everybody. If you want to come, please come. Right? There's enough seats for everybody. We're going to have a lot of the kind of pomp and circumstance you have, but mostly we're going to talk about the vision for your school and where we're going. I really want you to be there. I really want to say our alumni are represented at this event because that shows the world that we're in this together. The investors are time to do that. The next morning, we're going to have a golf tournament, a lot of industry. If a lot of you want to play golf, it's going to be out in Opelika, Auburn, Opelika, Marriott. That evening, we're going to have a formal black and tie gala. We're going to have the OJs. The OJs are going to be performing. Now, that reflects.
I said if he said it was okay, I wasn't going to say it.
No, I'm telling you. That's who I'm telling you right now. We're inside the family. It's going to be the OJs. That probably reflects my age, but I like the OJs. So they're going to sing us through the evening. We're going to have some other performances as well. We're going to have some folks whose names you will recognize. But it's going to be us celebrating us. And that's when we're going to talk about the comprehensive campaign. It's going to be raising money. We're raising money, so we're going to talk about donations and those kind of things. But it will be an enjoyable time. I want you to wear your tux, and then if you want to, wear your sneakers if that's what you dance in. But I want you to have a good time. That's what that event is for. The next morning, we are going to have an ecumenical service, and the person leading it is going to be a 1967 graduate of Tuskegee, Bill Winston. He's going to lead it. Some of you all know him. Maybe one person knows him, right? Somebody knows him. But he is incredibly successful as a minister, and I think in Illinois, in Chicago, right? He's been incredibly successful. He's also vested in rebuilding Tuskegee and the university. And he donates to the school in significant amounts. So it's not just like we're getting this guy. No, he is invested in Tuskegee and wants to be more invested. One of us will lead that service. So here's what I would tell you. This is our school. I started this, and I know I'm many minutes overdue, and I'm going to sit down. But I started this by telling you what? The power of a name. Our name is Tuskegee. And we ought to be incredibly proud of that. So I want you all to be proud of that. And so thank you very much. Madam? What you got?
All right. Let's thank Dr. Brown for that presentation. Now, I know it's lunchtime, but I'm going to have to ask for some grace. So for those who are in communication with our workshop presenters, I'm going to ask that you contact them and see if they can adjust their schedule a little bit. So can you adjust your schedule a little bit? Okay, you have a question?
Yes.
Okay, so how much time do we have?
Let's take 2 questions and then we'll go. All right? 2? How many questions? That's 2.
Okay. No, he's in a rush too.
All right, what you got? Go ahead, let's go.
What's your question?
Okay, class of. Class of 2003.
Oh, good.
We're part of the younger graduating classes compared to the other ones that are in the alumni club. Anywho,
She's talking soft.
I'm talking.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Oh, I gotta hold it like on my. Ooh, this is real close. Okay, class of 203. 2003. I know you didn't talk about this, but it is a concern for us, the younger ones. You say that you want to generate revenue, but you're cutting generating revenue during homecoming. I know a lot of us within a 20-year span are not coming to homecoming with the 150% increase of RV parking, renting. Since there is no place for us to stay, we bring our place to stay with us.
Right.
That increase from 300 to 750 is 150% increase. shutting down of an RV area is also a concern because that's where we have our events that generate income for Tuskegee from us alumni. And this also will affect interest from future students. Homecoming is the biggest event of the year. This is the time where a lot of tours come, and the lack of the generation that put Tuskegee on the map as far as how lit we are, that's us, that effect will kind of be lost.
All right.
So, wait,
What's your name, ma'am?
Nicole Sanchez.
Nicole, okay. So your question is why the price increases for homecoming, essentially,
Yes.
right? Why the price increases. Great question, Nicole. What's your last name, Nicole?
Sanchez.
Okay, Miss Nicole Sanchez. Great question. We get it all the time. And she said, we bring the revenue to Tuskegee, right? That's her premise. And why would you change that? 47,500 people came to homecoming last year. Everybody won but Tuskegee. Financially. We did not cover our costs, and let me tell you why. Because we do things that nobody else in the world ever does. And the reason they don't is because they wouldn't make a dime if they did. Let me give you an example. At Tuskegee, you don't have to buy the food, right? You cook it inside the stadium, right? And you drive in and set up with about 10 people in the car and 2 tickets. Right? Wait a minute. I want you to understand what the data says here. You bring all of the RVs and you park them, right, in a Tuskegee place. You pay a minimal fee. Tuskegee cannot cover garbage pickup and security for that fee. So here's the point. Here's my point. I hear you. It's a valid question. I want 47,500 people to come to homecoming. But if you want security, if you want a quality stadium, if you want a quality product, right, if you want all of the escorts that we provide, we're going to have to start paying for it. We're going to have to start paying for it. So if you want to know who to hold accountable for the price increases, it's me. It's me. I absolutely directed that we start covering our cost. Not that we have exorbitant prices, meaning that we make a huge profit, but we at least have to cover our cost. I'll give you one more example. We want the towers that allow us to be online and to have, right, cell phone service. We can't get all of that at no cost. Now look, I'm open to all the discussions on cost, but if you bring an RV inside of the stadium, you're going to buy some tickets for the people inside. If you bring an RV outside of the stadium, you're going to pay for the cost of security there. And so what was $350 might be $1,000. Now here's what I believe. You guys will test me on this a year from now. I believe people coming to homecoming. I believe they're coming to homecoming because, no matter what, people are coming to homecoming. And I also believe they will pay. Now here's the part where I do take offense on this debate. So if you go to homecoming at Tuskegee, right, you want to pay a certain amount. You go to a football game at Auburn, you can't bring a Coca-Cola inside the stadium, and you'll go buy that $10 Coca-Cola and that $7 hot dog, and it's okay. You know why it's okay? Let me tell you why I think it's okay. And again, I accept you're disagreeing with me on this, but I just want to be transparent. It's okay because you've set that standard for Auburn, but you want less at Mother Tuskegee. I think we need to push back collectively against that, and we need to say that to be a university, we have to operate like a university. All right, next question. Yes, ma'am.
We're not, the 750 is not the issue, because yes, we want to pay for security.
Okay.
Why would you shut down the whole business house area?
Security.
So if we're paying the extra 750 for the security.
I have to prioritize where the security is going to go. The football game is at Abbott Field in the state. That's our focus, right? We have to do it. Now, I'm not going to tell you that's going to be the final answer as we expand, because it's a good question. But where do we want, I've gone by that area several times, right? I know it very well. I know it very well. I know it very well. It's outside the gates of the school, per se, or right on the other side of the gate. But if you notice, that gate will look different when you get back this time. You'll see when I don't know the last time you went back. But I hear you. I don't necessarily 100% disagree with you, but I also don't want to mislead you as you go back to talk to your colleagues. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for doing the presentation for us today and giving us quite a bit of knowledge today. I had just two real quick areas. One that you talked about is you talked about the power of the name. What about the branding of the students when they come in, so that when they come out,
Right.
they will have the power of the brand and the name? You know,
Right.
we start talking about wearing the shirt. Why do we wear the shirt? What are you doing
Right.
about the branding of Tuskegee as a
Right.
freshman, and instilling that in my mind when I come in, so that when I come out, it's there.
Right.
And the other area I wanted you to kind of look at and talk about was the architect school and the role of Booker T. Washington and giving me a skill to build a brick, and how the architect school, you know, develops and go on and help build. You gave us the new buildings, but
Right.
that particular area. Thank you very much.
Right, so both of those are good questions. Now, I don't know, we have a ceremony for our freshmen. It's a very involved ceremony where when they come in, they're all dressed in black and white. They're like, if you haven't been there a while, you may not have seen this, where that's part of the indoctrination that you're talking about. But we're even increasing that entire freshman orientation year to include things like showing the play of Booker T and Adams, so that they understand the brick. So I think we're doing some of the branding that you name, that you talk about. I don't think we're doing it well enough. So we're adding some more elements to that. I want to make sure that we show you that ceremony that we're talking about, though, because depending on when you school, you've never seen that. They weren't doing it when I was there. But it is getting at exactly what you're saying, so that they know the value of coming to Tuskegee. We talk about the bricks, right? We talk about the orientation to that. The second part of your question is a good one. And I'm going to have to ask my new dean at School of Architecture and Construction how we can do more of that. I will tell you that when people come in to build projects for us, part of what they do is the hiring of our students. So when you saw part of our students were a part of the design that went into the Lewis Adams and also the Olivia Davidson Hall. So they are part of that work. Are they a part of it enough or not? I'm going to have to say, let me just talk to the dean, and she might have even a better vision than that than I have.
Because when you talked about the building that was run down,
Right.
I can see that being a project of an architect program to help rebuild that building that's been donated.
Yeah. Now we do have to get them the resources to do it with, right? They have to have the capital project. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm Troy Lean Ladner, Architecture 1986.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And my question is actually related to Ms. Richardson. Is there a consideration to add trade certificates to the School of Architecture and Construction Science so that the students would get the architecture or construction science degree and a masonry certificate, a carpentry, rough carpentry, concrete finishing? Is there anything
Right.
in the works for that?
Yeah, you know, if you look closely at the credentials of our dean as it relates to masonry and those things, you will see that that's part of what our new dean, that's part of what she intends to bring. And she has the credentials to do it with, by the way. She has the credentials to do it with. So how long it's going to take and when she's going to have it there, I'm not certain because I didn't ask her that, but I do know that that's her intent.
Okay, we got two more questions. I got
Yeah.
one here. One right here. And then Dr. Brown's gonna choose the last one.
Thank you very much. My
Yes,
name is
ma'am.
Mary Red Clary, class of 1973. Mary Red Clary, class of Mary Red Clary, class of 1973. My father's class of 1951.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that I have noticed over the years is that it used to be a safe environment outside of the campus.
Right.
I know you've done security inside, and I applaud you for that. What is your relationship, not only with the mayor, city council, But the other businesses in the surrounding area outside of campus that would also ensure security in the
Right.
future.
Yeah, in fact, that's a good point. Every time we talk about security, that's an integrated, and I should have said that, that's an integrated answer. So part of when I say there are 100 people and all that, it includes the city of Tuskegee. So our police chief, Chief Phillips that you saw, is working with the police chief downtown for the night game, for the first night game. They're meeting, I believe, every week now to get ready for that night game. And I have a very good relationship with the mayor and have gone down to talk to the chamber about this. So they do understand the security challenge. They don't have as many resources as we would want them to have, and at times we have to augment that in order to make it happen and get other officers. But they are vested in it. But it is a far more complex problem than just the number of police officers. It's the employment rate and the poverty that exists that we have to really address as well. And the city's facing all that in Tuskegee. So it's a great question, man.
One last question.
All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the great presentation.
Uh-huh.
I am Joe Harrison. I'm from Philadelphia and class of 82. I'm an agribusiness education major, and agriculture was the foundation of Tuskegee, and
Right.
agriculture is the basis of all economies, and of course it's near and dear to my heart.
Yes, sir.
USDA for 38 years. My question is, in conjunction with the festival, what is the vision for the agriculture department going forward? Because I feel like globally, that's another area that we can reach out to, the Caribbean and West Africa.
Oh, yeah.
And the United States as well.
And they, so Dr. Ogun Tiller, I know you know Dr. Ogun Tiller, the dean there, is doing a bang-up job, in my opinion, of representing this business, not just nationally, but globally. So she's doing this work internationally. We have our 1890 Scholars program reinstated. So we give about 75 or so full-paid scholarships. So that program, I don't know if you noticed the percentage here, is growing quicker than any other program on the campus. And it's doing things that affect the economy of Alabama, which is what I think makes them even more secure. When they needed to do some research outside of Florida A&M, and it had to do with the growing of products and the use of, I think, electrical wires over what the impact on it, they called our School of Canes to go out there to be the experts on it. So you have the global reputation. The risk that we have, if there is a risk there, is that many of those students start because they intend to go on to vet school. And if we were to have a loss there, we would lose the population. But in terms of growth, it's growing faster than any other school that we have. It's doing very well. All right, look, where's that young lady at that started with her question?
No, we gotta go.
No, I don't want to answer her question. She's gone. But look, I wanted to make sure you guys, if I see her, I'll tell her. Where is she? No, not her.
She's
No.
one of the vendors. She's out in the hall.
Oh, see, let me just say this, and this is for all of our young folks. Please don't misunderstand me. I want you to come to Tuskegee. I want you to enjoy yourself. I want to make an environment so that you can do that. I just don't want to underprice it. So we're going to work with them. We're going to work with all of them. It's not our intent to not hear them. I do hear them, and I've heard a lot of them, so I know about that sentiment. But I also want them to put the interest of the school along with our own social interests, right? We got to make those match sometime. So that really is the point. All right.
All right, listen, Dr. Brown's gonna be back tonight for our Princeton Gold Benches.
So let me tell you. Let me be clear. Let me be clear. I've got an appointment that I have to go to right now. I'm going to do my best to get back, but if I don't, I've got my number 2 here ready to deliver a better message than I would be able to deliver. I'm going to do my best, but I don't want to tell you and mislead you. I'm going to do my best to be back. I want to be back. But look, I was raised by a village, and one of those is a 90-plus-year-old lady that lives in what I call the real Philadelphia, in the inner city, and I committed to her that I would go see her. So I got to go do it, and then I'm going to do my best to get back, and if so, I'll make a commitment, but if I don't, I got a person there. Thank you all. God bless you. Godspeed.